the great debates has been a great meeting. It happened many times this year. And the one that you're referring to, which did take place on November 17, is quite exciting, and because it collected all the information that has happened throughout the year till now in regard to cholangiocarcinoma, biliary cancers, and of course in regard to primary liver cancer or hepatocellular carcinoma. So you're right. In regard to biliary cancers, quite a bit of disruption. One of my favorite things at the great debates is to really have a debate, truly a debate, and you take a stand and your colleague will take another stand. It was a great delight to actually have the debate with my dear colleague, Dr. Milind Javli. Dr. Javli took the stand in support of the targeted therapy as being the prime and even first target therapy to be used in biliary cancers, while I made sure to support the use of the checkpoint inhibitors as part of the treatment in first line for biliary cancers. I think both of us will agree that with Dr. Javli not being with us, it's going to be a little bit unfair what I'm going to say, but nonetheless, I'll try to be as objective as I can. And no doubt that the whole discussion on either side was very much driven by a critical clinical trial, which is a TOPAZ-1 study that looked into Gemcitabine plus cisplatin plus Durvalumab as a first-line therapy for patients with primary biliary cancers. Now, no doubt that this was a little bit coming from the left field because nobody expected that checkpoint inhibitors will have a play in that regard. And no doubt that, especially with the presence of the chemotherapy, clearly we were able to impact a positive outcome added on that led to the positive results of the study. And what's more intriguingly is that the ABC02 study on which the TOPAZ-1 was studied was based in regard to the chemotherapy part, limited chemotherapy to 6 months only. And then after that, on the TOPAZ-1, patient carried on with the use of the checkpoint inhibitors. I would say this is definitely a big plus, and no question, many of us and dear colleagues are already applying the 6 month of chemotherapy and carry on with the maintenance on the Durvalumab as a immunotherapy. We might be a little bit nerved up sometimes about patients stopping chemotherapy, especially if the response is not really where we would like it to be. But at least comfortably, if a patient gets a PR, which by the way is very possible, get a CR. Yes, a little bit uncommon, but yes, can happen. And I'm proudly can say that already I have seen it on several patients. Then you can definitely maintain on the Durvalumab on the monthly basis. The plus for the patients is less visits, less impact, less side effects, and of course, a improvement in regard to quality of life and functionality, and of course, accessibility to what they like to do in life, because the Durvalumab, while with the chemotherapy, is given every 3 weeks, but the minute you are going only as maintenance, it's once every month, which is, coming to the doctor once a month is not as bad as coming weekly. So that's the story of the checkpoint inhibitor Durvalumab plus the Gemcitabine cisplatin standard of care therapy. But what about, and to be fair, what Dr. Javli brought in regard to, what about all the target therapy? Absolutely, they're a big plus. We have plenty of them. We're already proud to see that we have Pemigatinib, fully FDA approved, at least in the UK, in the US. We have Pemigatinib, which also was approved by the US. We know that sadly, Infigratinib was pulled out of the market. And of course, we have also Ivosidenib for the anti-IDH1. So the Pemigatinib and Pemigatinib for the anti-FGFR2 therapies and the Ivosidenib for the anti-IDH1 therapies. Interestingly, the big challenge, and please, this is at least if any message to remember for all of us, make sure that we do the genetic testing. I always jokingly say, even while patients are walking on the street, coming to your clinic, maybe time to do the genetic testing. We do it as early as you can. Number two component is the therapies are definitely important and robust and definitely will make a lot of value for the patients. The reality is the oncoming of the TOPAZ-1 study pushed all of those targeted therapies into the second-line treatment. And interestingly, that's why Infigratinib was actually pulled off the market, because there was no, probably, and it's not within my jurisdiction or my expertise, a marketing or economic component for the company or the sponsor of the study to continue in the studying it in first-line therapy. But nonetheless, I would say, after all, maybe a second-line therapy, after all, is not bad. At least good that we have a second-line therapy. Fascinating enough that some data that we did study on Pemigatinib, it appears to be that patients, and this was reported at ASCO in 2021, patients who are on the Pemigatinib or anti-FGFR2 therapy, or even if they have anti-FGFR2 therapy, they will fare better if the therapy is coming as second line. So no doubt this could be very valuable already as a treatment for patients. It doesn't have to be that everybody has to be in the front seat in the first-line therapy. Second-line therapy would make a lot of sense. And interestingly, the idea that I just put in regard to probably, after all, anti-FGFR2 like Pemigatinib would be more beneficial and valuable for patients' second-line therapy will strongly support the use of the Durvalumab plus Gemcitabine cisplatin in first line.